Hello, my name is Ben Wheatley and I'm the director of High Rise.
My name's Tom Hiddleston and I play Dr. Laing in High Rise.
My name's Jeremy Thomas and I'm the producer of High Rise.
Jeremy, tell us about how you brought High Rise to the screen.
Well, Ben Wheatley really brought it to the screen, but I was the midwife, so to speak. And I'd been at that being midwife business on this film for quite a long time, until one day I got a call from my son, who said, Ben Wheatley, I've seen his film, he's fantastic. He said, well, he loves High Rise. And I said, please ask his agent, who wasn't my son, to contact me. And 24 hours later, Ben was in my office.
I had managed to turn up late though as well. This was the thing that crushed me on this, was that I got this. I get to go and meet Jeremy Thomas, I was a massive fan of, and I managed to screw up the meeting. So it was meant to turn up in the morning, and I got the wrong time. And I remember, I literally punching myself in the face as I was reading the email, going, "Oh my God, how have I managed this? This is how to make an impression. Just not bother to turn up on time." So I turned up almost 5 hours late to this meeting, and Jeremy, you were pretty good about it.
I don't think that's not even in my memory.
Oh, that's good. No,
that's erased from my memory.
Because I was mortified basically by that.
I'd been on the wrong trail on this project, trying to sort of futurize it, because I'd started it some time ago, and Ben said, Amy and I would like to write a script. Maybe you'd even already written the script, I have no idea. We would like to write a script as the book was and set it in the time when the book was written in the 70s. And it immediately, yes, let's go, bang. I was immediately that day, let's go. And High Rise Journey, which was quite quick, I have to say, from sort of that day until the beginning of the shooting, which is a wonderful way to make a film with an energy of a screenplay into imagining the film, finding the locations, and then shooting it. That's the way films should be made.
There was a great will, wasn't there, to get it done, which was, it moved at light speed, I think, at that point. And I had other projects that I was developing at the same time, and they all just went to the side really, really fast. Like Jeremy's saying, it was a day or maybe a day after that first conversation of I talked to Hugo Young, my agent, and said, who has High Rise? And then within a day or so, I was late, but I was walking up the stairs at Hanway Street, where Jeremy's offices are, looking at all the posters of all the movies he produced, and got to sit in his office, which has signed pictures of from Walt Disney and the Bug from The Naked Lunch, and all these incredibly intimidating kind of artifacts from cinema history.
And strangely, so we can genuinely bring our colleague, our artist colleague here in the room, into conversation, because at the very beginning, a producer says to the director, "What sort of actors do you want in the movie?" He said, "Well, there's one actor I've got in mind, and that's Tom Hiddleston, who fortunately I knew and recently worked with Jim Jarmusch, and we went to see him in Coriolanus in a play, the play, and it's all, the memories are all sort of, I can't exactly remember the timeline, but that was it. And then Tom said, "I'm on," after meeting Ben afterwards, and stuck with us during the period that I was, finding the resources, and Ben was preparing the movie.
That is exactly the timeline as I remember it. I remember hearing or reading somewhere in the film industry press that Ben, you'd signed on to make High Rise with Jeremy. And then both of you came not just to see Coriolanus, but to the first performance of Coriolanus.
It was
which was slightly terrifying.
Yeah, and for us as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I was sat next to this guy, and he was feverishly writing as it was going on. I thought, oh, he's a critic. And I looked over, and he was just drawing triangles in his book, and I thought, I don't know much about the critic's art, but this is extreme, this is abstract, and he wasn't. He was one of the lighting guys, just checking all the cues were working in the right place. But I then had to go and talk to Tom immediately afterwards, and I was slightly terrified because Coriolanus is not a play that you can swallow down in one gulp. No. If you don't know the background of it, which obviously I didn't, I'd done my due diligence and research of Wikipedia, but that was about as far as I hadn't, read the play. So I was like sweating, going, "Geez, I'm going to have to go and talk to him and sound halfway intelligent. This is absolutely terrifying." But you were very generous.
Well, the combination of you and Jeremy and this book by J.G. Ballard was so exciting to me. And it was a great character, and there he is with no clothes on.
There we go. This was it. This was my basic. The whole plan was to hang all the marketing, everything around Tom Hiddleston being naked, and it's worked a treat, which is good. But so the other detail before we get into the movie proper, I guess, is the script that Amy Jump wrote, and she did a very clever thing, I thought, which was that she didn't want to get involved in or really even look at any of the other scripts that have been developed over the years. And there was a stack of scripts which was as high as a small child, basically, when you put them on top of each other. And her idea to take it back to the original novel and the original time period was something I think that could only really be approached at this point in its development, really, because it made absolute sense to always be projecting it into the future since the writing of it in 1975. But Amy went away and wrote this script, and pretty much on her own. The idea that the director is a kind of stalks around with his smoking jacket, ripping pages out of a book and demanding that they're being put into a script is a kind of cliche of Hollywood. But my relationship with Amy is not like that. It's very an exclusive thing where she goes and writes, and then I deal with the script afterwards. So, and that was the script that got written. And the deal was that she'd had this thing where she didn't want to be paid initially, and we both felt that we didn't want to come to this project that had been in development for so long and then go, we were interested in it, but now we want to get paid before we'll do any work. So she suggested that she'd write a spec script, and if there was no one liked it, then that was fine. We'll just chalk it up to experience and walk away. And I thought that was pretty bold of her, and I'm sure you did as well, Jeremy.
Well, I was delighted that you had the commitment to that as well. I mean, I was prepared to do the normal thing on the film, and it was unusual because I suppose you also didn't want to make the film unless the script had become exactly as you both wanted it to happen out of adapting the book, and you never really know on an adaptation how it's going to turn out until you adapted it.
Yeah, and so she went at it, and this is what came out, and then it changed a little bit, but mainly only to do with scale. I think the initial script was maybe a little bit longer and a bit more complicated and more characters, and it had to kind of grumble down a little bit to something that was achievable for our budget. But that was it. That was mainly
I think it was mainly called The Bond.
The Bond, yeah, they were a bit afraid. Well, this film is a terrifying prospect because it's massively complicated, lots of sets, many actors involved in it, and when you make a movie, the Bond people kind of are guaranteeing that the film will be completed and finished, and it's their risk if it isn't. And they kind of look at the how a film is looking on paper, and they'll say things like, if this is not achievable, this amount of detail is not achievable in the time.
I'd like to distract us to what's going on the screen at the moment.
Oh yes,
which I think bears some discussion, especially from Tom, who researched it fully.
Well, there you see it. It's what's it called? The cranial ungloving.
Yeah.
So Dr. Laing in High Rise is a physiologist. There is his name tag. To me, it's fascinating that J.G. Ballard chose a medical profession for one of his leading protagonists. Ballard himself had read anatomy and medical studies at Cambridge before becoming a writer. And I think he was fascinated by the biomechanics of our engineering. And Laing is, as a character, is someone who has a detachment, who's able to keep himself at arm's length from emotion, from the symptoms of human behavior and dysfunction. And I went up to a lab in the Midlands in England to watch a forensic pathologist perform an autopsy, because I wanted to simply get it right, so that people who knew what they were talking about could attest to the authenticity of what I was doing,
the veracity.
Yeah, but also it was a very interesting day talking to someone who for whom pathology or forensic pathology is a profession, about what you can find inside a human body that tells you about human behavior. my personal and completely amateur opinion about Ballard and High Rise is that he, as a writer, had an extremely sophisticated insight about human beings, and he was always fascinated by placing his characters and protagonists in situations of extremity, where the extremity would challenge who they were, and that somehow something within them would be revealed, some deeper, perhaps darker nature. That he's literally stripping away the mask of civilization to reveal a more complex truth beneath it, and I think that's what he's doing in High Rise.
And and just to say, the Dan Martin's prosthetic there, the head peeling piece that he made was one of the best bits of prosthetics I've ever seen.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the fact that it could repeat again and again as well, and it's something. There's many skilled technicians that can make a head that looks realistic, which is a sight to see when you see something like that. But the fact that it had a layer of skin that then could be pulled off and was anatomically correct underneath was kind of blew my mind. And I remember on the day I hadn't seen any tests for it, and it turned up. And Dan I've worked with many times. He was he's pretty confident about it, but I was ready to cut round it if it wasn't going to work. I was like fully prepared, to go okay, right. But no, it was
an amazing day as well. It felt like Play-Doh in my hands. It didn't feel like it. I mean, I know it looks very gruesome and gory, but actually it felt huge fun. On the shooting day, at least.
And it was weird as well because we were in a freezer room in the back of a supermarket as well, so that kind of slowly spoils the look.
Which is that supermarket. So we should really get to understand where we are filming, because we are meant to be in Docklands in central London.
Yeah.
And in fact, we're in Bangor Leisure Centre in Northern Ireland.
Yes. The action you're watching on screen right now is taking place in the top left-hand corner of the badminton court of Bangor Leisure Centre in Northern Ireland,
near Belfast.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's and so we looked around the country, didn't we, Jeremy? We did a bit of a tour, all trying to find a location for this movie, and some buildings, I mean, like the Birmingham Library, we tried to get into, which they never let us in because of various nefarious reasons. And eventually, we ended up in Northern Ireland, and obviously there's attractions to Northern Ireland because there's a certain amount of a financial kind of. There's a screen. The Northern Ireland screen, which can put money into the movie.
Incentive to shoot their Game of Thrones recently. What's being shot there? There's a big base of technical people who can work on a film.
Yeah, but that's all well and good. But what really got us there, and this was after about a 3-day trip. They were saying, last space we're going to go to is in Bangor, and it's a leisure centre. And we were kind of quite tired. We thought, this is, we'll just go and see what it's like. I'm sure it's not going to be right. And we've been shown like the Titanic studios where they shoot Game of Thrones, which is all singing, all dancing, amazing, but not available basically. And we looked at this place and went, oh, right. It's like built in the 1970s. It's got everything that we have in the script: swimming pools, squash courts, gyms, corridors, all this kind of stuff. And then it's got a big area to build the sets in.
Yeah.
And
so here is a scene that takes place at the end of the first day of principal photography. In J.G. Ballard's novel, he's the last line of one of the chapters is, "A flock of air hostesses tottered towards Laing in his dreams." And Ben very faithfully shot a flock of air hostesses on their own. And I was standing next to him, and I said, "Do you think Laing should be involved in his dream?" And Ben said, "Yeah, go on then, get in there, we'll try one." And I said, "What do you think he should be doing?" And Ben said, "Well, you've got to dance with him, haven't you?" So we put on some disco music, which was, I think, authentically 70s, and did one take. And for me, that was the end of we started on a Monday. I think it was Monday the 7th of July, 2014. And on the end of that Monday at 10 to 6, we're due to wrap at 6 o'clock. I danced with a group of lovely ladies from Northern Ireland, all dressed as flight attendants. And the spontaneity and the fun and the sense of mischief that was created on that day set the tone for me of the rest of the shoot.
It was, I think, wasn't it something like, Jeremy, we did 50 setups that day as well, and we shot tons and tons, and everyone came off the end of it going, okay, we can do this. And certainly going back to the Bond issue, the Bond were worried that we wouldn't be able to shoot as much as we had in the schedule, and everyone was calm after that because we'd came.
I was amazed at the amount of setups that we managed to shoot in this leisure centre, but it was very contained. And in this leisure centre, where we're actually looking at the moment, which had been embalmed and next to a police station, therefore not vandalised, was a pool and a squash court and all the things that you get in a leisure centre. And in that scene you saw Elizabeth Moss and Sienna Miller, the actresses, in the pool.
Yeah.
Just want to jump in.
I
and
found out that my brother-in-law learned to swim in that swimming pool.
Oh, right, Michael Smiley did as well. So I found out that.
Okay.
I just want to say, Rob Pizzey, who graded the whole movie, and I had laughed and laughed as he graded yellow into that swimming pool.
Goodness.
So when you look at it again, it looks quite
like,
pissy.
From the children's wee
The
wee effect.
I mean, we went too far and we had to pull it all back. We were howling, laughing about that, but then it all had to be graded back towards taste. So this location is in Belfast proper, in the
Sea
docks,
terminal.
and it's a ferry terminal, and this is really where kind of Mark Tilsley, the art designer, stretched his legs, and
then you cut to, it's like The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. You cut to the Botanical Gardens in Bangor.
Yeah, which again, this is another Mark Tilsley triumph, where he found this space just walking around while we had our base up the road at the leisure centre, and he just came back and said, I found this space, so we go and have a look at it. I was like, up until that point, this garden was going to be quite a sorry affair. There wasn't enough money to build it, and we were racking our brains on how we were going to do this thing. And he came back and it was fantastic. And Bangor, the town of Bangor gave us so much. He gave us that, and it gave us the supermarket. And now a supermarket's kind of a difficult space to find usually, filming wise. There's like one of them in London that gets used a lot, but to find an empty one was a real find. Here we are, Mr. Irons,
Jeremy Irons, Anthony Royal,
so
the architect. This
is another. It's incredibly hot set, isn't it?
Yes.
Which was.
This, I think, is our second day of filming, from memory.
It was straight in, wasn't it? Yeah.
And I found it fascinating. I'd worked with Jeremy before. Obviously, his work needs no introduction to anyone listening or watching. He's a legend. But he played my father in a television adaptation of Shakespeare's Henry plays. He played King Henry IV, and I'd played Prince Hal. And we had a very good time working together then, and it was really nice to sort of pick up that relationship where we'd left off, because there is something oddly filial about Lang's relationship with Royal, that he's, in a way, Royal has elected Lang as some sort of successor to his dream, and is trying to recruit him to see if they could be allies.
He's letting him in.
Yeah.
He's sort of opening the...
But it's also a set, isn't it? It's like, it's Royal, Lang and Toby.
Yes,
almost could be seen as the same person on different parts of their life journey type thing.
Anyway, he had the certain gravitas to Royal, and Jeremy, he's, when you see him on the completed in the film, he inhabited that role, and he makes him a believable character completely.
Yeah, Jeremy has a natural elegance and authority, I think, which you need as Royal.
Yeah, he's almost kind of, for me, he's kind of almost like Alien. When I deal with him, he's difficult to kind of get around the edges of his.
So there we are, 40 stories high.
Yes, with some marvelous special effects work by Milk, who I'd worked with on Doctor Who, which I'd shot 2 episodes of that year. This is quite a year for me. I did two episodes of Doctor Who and High Rise in the same year. So when I say it out loud, I can't quite believe I managed to do it. But it was, and I'd met Milk on that, and they do all the special effects for the Doctor Who series, and they basically designed with us and created all the exterior shots, but then they and lots of other kind of matte paintings. And
to introduce another actress, Keeley Hawes.
Yeah.
And
Dan Skinner as well there.
And Dan Skinner.
It was...
Tell us about Dan's character, because you and Amy sort of invented that character, didn't you?
Well, as Amy did, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he's kind of like a go-between for Royal, but I quite like him because he's like one of those characters out of Performance or something like that, or and he's like a proper '60s villain, you know. But it's also like this kind of idea that he's even an employee of Royal, but then he becomes joined to the building.
Yes,
you know, and he kind of. What I really liked about the script as well is that you got all these characters and you really feel their movement within the story, moving up and down and down. You could almost follow his story. He could have had a film on his own. You know, Anne Royal could have had a film on her own. You know, the Kitty Hawes character. Right. So this mirrored lift I was really, really excited about. So this was Frank Walsh, who was one of the art directors, came up with how to do this, and I'd storyboarded it. With this movie, I'd done about 700 storyboards and a lot of drawings, and but one of the drawings was this mirrored lift, which was like the kind of, I felt it was like kind of the centre of the building always. It was like the brain of the building. So whenever you were in there, you were reflected out of all the possibilities that you could be, which is great, you know, until you have to film it, which is like, how do you film a mirrored lift, you know, without catching the camera in it? So I thought, you know, I had various terrible solutions for this, and but Frank came along and said, I've done this before. I've done this at the Beatles exhibition, and I know exactly how to do it. And he did it, and I'm not going to tell you how he did it. So that can be his secret. I'll keep Frank's secret. Okay, so sex scenes, which is this is one of them, and I can tell you it was an awkward 5 or 6 days of editing for me and Amy dealing with this, but there was a lot of tea drunk.
I'm sure.
And we went, whew, crikey, back to it. You know?
Yeah, well, it's, you know, sex is very much a part of life in the high rise. I remember this episode very clearly from the book, actually, and I think there's Ballard quotes that Laing knew that his relationship with Charlotte would end rather than begin with this first sexual act, and that the materials they would exchange would be far more subversive, the erotic and the perverse, which I think is thought was so fascinating. Which is that this is basically an encounter which is not about intimacy. It's about something else. It's about some sort of social contract.
Yeah, it's an allegiance almost, isn't it, for a moment? You know?
Yeah. And then it's cut short by Toby. And so it isn't a seductive scene. It's more about it's sort of a symptom of the inhabitants of the building surrendering to their appetites early on.
And I think for me it was one of the first more erotic scenes I've ever shot. I have shot a sex scene with Johnny Vegas in Ideal, and God bless him, it wasn't that erotic, that one. And there's some sex scenes in Sightseers, but again, you wouldn't say they were that erotic, to be fair. Though there is potpourri involved, but it's not. That's not enough. But what we found when Amy and I were editing it was that what made the scene was for us was the moments of Sienna and Tom laughing and being, you know, and trying to deal with the situation and as humans, sometimes not when you're acting necessarily.
Yeah.
So it's kind of putting those things in and out, which is, I don't know, I think laughter's a big part of sex.
Yes.
Maybe I'm saying too much.
No,
but,
it's and there was a very squeaky glass table.
Yeah.
Which made us laugh.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of farty glass noises as they were removed across the thing. So that was, you know, and then just on a technical level, I was quite worried about the table all the time because it was a real table, and it was kind of
with two people on top of it.
Yeah. I was like, oh, Christ.
That is a legitimate worry.
Yeah, but it was all right. Or the other worry in a scene like that is the chafing of Sienna Miller up against the faux concrete wall. In that, and we were all a bit worried about that, and so it's weird. It's like there's lots of concerns always that you never really think about when you're watching it. So this car park was the M&S car park in Bangor, which is a triumph of CG technology, you know, to turn that to paint all that away. And we got all those classic cars. We got the classic car club in from Northern Ireland, but then there was extended out with CG. This supermarket.
This is the supermarket we've been talking about.
This thing was really scary for me, and it really, because it was an all-encompassing set, I really felt I was in the 70s again, in a way that the others, maybe the apartment sets felt like that, but this, where you could look around and see extras dressed in thing, and just looking around, and I felt like I was like 5 again, and it was disturbing.
All our own product.
Yeah.
We had to make all the product because you can't show any product of anybody else's. So we made.
Well, it was a decision that was made early on that we did. You know, there is this arse of having to clear everything, and that's always a nightmare. But there was. Then we started thinking that it's in a kind of, because this is in an alternate 70s, that we would have fun and actually dig into it and design it all ourselves. And Michael Eaton, who was one of the designers there, had the job of like making up about 1 billion different tins. And so this is the 70s, but not maybe how as other people might remember it. No curly whirlies or spangles now.
Introducing also Stacey Martin and Sienna Guillory.
Yes,
both terrific actresses. That's Stacey there playing Faye, and Sienna Guillory is playing Jane Sheridan, who is a very glamorous actress who lives in the upper floors of the building. Yeah,
and a weird quirk of casting where I cast Sienna, and then I managed to cast her husband as well.
Without knowing that they were married?
Without knowing they were married, Enzo, who plays Tall. But I was lying the other day when I did a Q&A and said there was no more nudity in this from the beginning. There is more, and it's there. Apparently, I heard that people were shouting at the screen in Toronto, or in Vancouver, when they saw that flashing edit there, saying to the projectionist the film was broken.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
Can I talk about this shot? I think this is one of my favourite shots in the film. It's a crane shot, and it took a number of goes at it to get the choreography right, but it's
a day's worth.
There's only one. I think there's one cut in this whole scene. It's otherwise one unbroken take.
Do you see the iris on this as well? When we re-graded it so that it kind of focuses in on Augustus, Oggy Prue, and then comes back out again. So because there's a tricky problem with this sequence, which is they're all in fancy dress. So can you recognise
people?
Yeah.
But I remember on the day we had most of the company on the set.
Yeah.
There's James Purefoy, there's Sienna, there's Keeley, Augustus,
Dan Skinner in the background.
And it felt so ambitious and so. It felt genuinely grand. It felt like real bravura filmmaking. I was so impressed.
For me, it was a really tough day because I'd not met most of the people. I met them casting and talked to them and stuff. But to have to direct, I've never directed en masse. A massive big cast of super experienced actors. It's terrifying. And you're standing there, and I could feel my voice slightly crack. And go, okay, but then it was fine, because we got into it. And this was...
It's magic.
And again, it was incredibly hot on that set.
It was.
I remember
people fainting, weren't they?
I was taking old layers of clothes, I remember.
I love this cigarette as well.
And one of those beautiful accidents.
This is the world of Amy editing as well. When she saw that, she was, that's going in. And then was it the early, right at the beginning when there was a take when your flies are undone and you do them up halfway through.
That's right. Yeah.
And she's like, that's gold. That's going in.
So, playing over this scene is a string quartet playing a very, very famous pop song by a band called ABBA.
Yes.
Ben.
SOS.
Tell us about ABBA.
Well, I'm a big fan of ABBA. I'm a unapologetic, unironic, non-hipstery, posy fan of ABBA. ABBA is not a joke to me. I love ABBA and I listen to it a lot. I have it on my iPhone and I'll listen to it at any given moment, and it'll just come up in a mix of a broad taste in music. But I don't have a room in my house full of ABBA memorabilia. I'm not that way inclined, but I do like ABBA a lot. So Amy and I were chatting about it, and she decided to put in the script and 2 versions of ABBA SOS. The other one we'll hear later on, but it's and it come from an idea that we developed in Sightseers, where you use multiple cover versions of the same song. But this version was put together by Clint Mansell. And Clint, who's done the whole score here, is I'm a big fan of Clint's, and this is a weird thing about the world of the internet, where as much as it makes everybody's lives, it shrinks everything. It kind of and it can be a bit irritating. Sometimes it gives you really beautiful moments, and one of them for me was that when I realised that Clint was following me on Twitter, and I could follow him back and then direct message him, and so I talked to him, and I found the email I sent him the other day, which is like, I listened to all your stuff on Spotify, but I also own the albums. And but I never would have thought of talking to him, because he felt like he was too far out of my orbit, But through Twitter I did. So I emailed him and said, would you be involved in High Rise? And he was like, yes, I'd love to be involved.
Yeah, he's an amazing composer.
Yeah.
Squash.
Yeah.
This might be a good moment to talk about... well, first of all, challenges of filming a game of squash in a squash court, an enclosed space. But you, Ben, have a fearless and wickedly talented collaborator in Laurie Rose.
Yeah, and who doesn't mind being smacked around the head with squash balls as slammed in this sequence. So yeah, I mean, Laurie.
Talk about Laurie.
Laurie and I've he's shot every film that I've made. So we started with Down Terrace and Kill List, Sightseers, Field in England, what I love about Laurie is that we've kind of come up together, and Bobby Entwistle as well, sound, and we've the style that we've got that's in these movies is developed movie by movie. There's a continuity there, and then a continuity of understanding of an almost unsaid understanding of what we want out of scenes. I think his handheld camera work is is the best in the business as far as I'm concerned, and then his general his eye is fantastic, but his general demeanour is him and Bobby incredibly calming, and I think that's really important as part of making the atmosphere on set for everyone to do their work. So there's no prima donnaing about or stomping about, and everything is just easy and fun. And I think that's that if there's anything that I have as a directorial style, it's that on set is to make sure that there's an atmosphere that people can just do their work.
It's true that I will attest to that. I mean, the three of you together are you create this atmosphere of permission and that anything goes. That that it's we're lucky to do what we do, and we're all on set to play, and nothing is set in stone, and everything is flexible, and that's a beautiful atmosphere as an actor to come on. Not every film is like that. Not every people get protective about their own particular craft. They get protective about the time to light or time to set up a frame, and it's a real collaboration with the three of you.
This scene is my favourite scene in the film, oddly, but it's because, and it's a selfish favourite because it's about apart from thematically it being the whole film in one scene, pretty much, it's all in one shot as well. And I remember the day we were a bit up against it, and
it was Luke's first day.
Yeah. But it was because it sometimes it's just really kind of sad little technical things, but because we were shooting on this lovely set that Mark had built us, and it had a lovely smooth floor, it meant that Glyn, the grip, could move the camera on wheels rather than having to set down a dance floor or set down track. So this whole quite complicated sequence that kind of gets bigger and bigger and bigger as it goes along, and more characters involved, was orchestrated quite quick. I had an idea of what I wanted. I knew I wanted it in one, but I didn't know what that movement was going to be until I saw the blocking on the day. And and it was one of those really nice moments where it all just comes together. The performances are really lovely, and there's a kind of feel of it to it as well that makes me think of sitcoms, like 70s sitcoms. It's the guy who comes in at the end with the wine, and his accent's particularly like on the buses or something like that. It kind of just, it goes into that. And then here we are, we're back outside again in the M&S car park.
With Luke and I wearing some very fine clobber. Let's talk about Odile Dix-Miro.
Yeah.
And what she brought to it. I thought she for me, she was...
costume design.
She was extraordinary in the way because she made the 70s very tangible for all of us, I think. Showed me pictures of Brian Ferry and George Lazenby, who were the style icons of the time, and the kind of clothes they wore, and I think she designed the film in a way that made it feel like the 70s, but not it didn't alienate people. It looked like the 70s, but it also looked like a version of the future.
Yeah, and so Amy worked really closely with her as well,
Yeah.
and there was a lot of that detail was in the script, and was very specific about what the dresses were and so. And it's an area which I have no expertise in.
But it was sort of very complimentary to Mark Tilsley's idea and the exposition of Le Corbusier, the period, very strong period, the brutalist architecture, and it all sort of melded together with Adil's costumes.
I love this little TV program that we shot there, which is Sienna Guillory, and it was. I've written a script for it. I mean, Amy'd written the script. This is my only bit of writing on the whole film. So I wrote 5 more lines that extend it out, and it was going to be called The Bastards of Danceford. And that every week, I might even write this yet, and it's every week this guy has got this country home, and a new bastard turns up to demand money from them, and they have to negotiate with it. And I could see that going out on in 70s BBC, no trouble, 700 parts, all shot on video. And so here we are. This is the out to the School of
Physiology.
Physiology, yeah. Sorry. And
What's your final decision?
this is the first time kind of we're
Outside the building.
we're in a proper location
Yeah.
for the first time.
Yeah.
And that was that was like a weird Saturday, wasn't it?
It
or
was,
something?
yeah. It was our first Saturday.
In a faculty in the middle of Belfast.
Yeah, and this is nothing like Bond and Moneypenny, this sequence.
I couldn't possibly comment.
No, but it's nothing like that. I wasn't thinking about that at all when we were shooting it.
Yes.
And so there is a story attached to this, but it's such a filthy story. I don't know if we can possibly put it down. But there was a joke that was meant to. But we're trying to get the
girls to laugh.
The
The 2 girls were supporting artists on the day, and we were trying to get them to laugh at Augie's jokes.
Yeah. So I came up with a joke, which is what's brown and sticky? A stick, right? And so I gave that to Augie. And he came up with something that was so filthy.
It's unrepeatable.
Unrepeatable. And I had to erase it from the rushes that went to the financiers, because I was so worried that they would hear this thing and go, what are they doing out there? And also, the only people it made laugh was me and Tom, and the rest of the crew. And the girls just sat there just totally appalled.
It was one of the days I couldn't stop. It was Augustus Prue.
He's a very bad
funny man.
Yeah.
Well, tell us a joke then.
I can't, but it's so bad. I'll tell you afterwards.
Yeah.
But it's pretty bad.
We don't mean to be exclusive, but it's one of those jokes that it may
get us all banned from making films forever if we say it. Now this is.
I have a video on my phone of you and Ellen and Odile essentially draping lavatory paper all over Luke Evans.
It's glamorous moments like that you just can't buy, isn't it? Yeah. Well, now the toilet paper thing comes from, and all these party games had come from real parties that I'd had with my own son, Amy and I had, and wrapping the father in toilet paper. It's much more extreme the way that we do it. It's called King of the Idiots. You get wrapped in toilet paper, the children paint you with paint, and they parade you up and down the street going, he's the king of the idiots. Like, it's a knocking on everybody's doors. And I've been there, so this is airbrushed. It's what used to happen.
This is such an interesting scene too, because the children were all so well behaved on set, and we had to encourage them to misbehave, which was very confusing for them in a way.
Yeah. What was funny about it was that they were. Well, you got involved in it, Tom, didn't you? Particularly, I thought that was really great. But we had Neil Wallace, the AD, who was fantastic on this job, and kept everything ticking along really fast. His attitude was to shout at the children, "Have fun!" Like that.
Yes,
and they all looked at him terrified.
Terrified.
They had to be kind of more. They had to be given permission and kind of wound up into it. So we did a lot of we basically just had a kids' party.
Yeah.
And why don't we talk a little bit about Luke Evans?
Absolutely.
And,
Yes.
This is a
Elizabeth
great
Moss.
moment here. Luke grabbing and improvising by getting the balloon and filling himself up with helium so his voice changed. And then this as well. When I got this back and saw it on the edit, the way that the balloon goes up and then goes down and goes,
again.
oh man, that's so
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
You know.
I remember it made me laugh as it happened. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that killed you, didn't it? I remember that. It was, but yeah, it was just that. I mean, he must have been thinking about he was going to do it, but damn, it was good.
It was good. I think Luke is a force of nature in this film.
Yeah.
I remember as I read the script for the first time, the parts of Laing and Royal and Charlotte and Helen, they all seemed. There were lots and lots of different people I could imagine playing those parts. If you read the part of Wilder, you read Wilder in the book, huge role. He's the agitator. He's on the lower floors. He's ferocious. He is confident. He is he's a sort of incarnation of testosterone and he's all man essentially. He's wild. It's wild. His name is Wilder. And Luke embraced it in a way that's completely, Luke is quite a sophisticated, refined, and very decent man, and he just stepped into this character and embraced it. And
I mean, we talked about Ollie Reed a lot, and I think that's for me. But Ollie Reed isn't like a unique character in Britain, I don't think. I mean, he's the kind of ultimate version of that man.
Yeah.
But I'd experienced that as a kid growing up, of seeing these kind of guys who are like quite wild, but also cultured, and could turn on a dime and suddenly become really aggressive, or not, and just love drinking.
Yeah.
And that whole culture of drinking and fighting, but also and womanizing. And
because he's incredibly charismatic.
Yeah, and I think Luke really nailed that.
And also working though.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. How did they do it? Were there no hangovers in the 70s? It's like
different metabolism, no health and safety.
Well, no one talked about it. They just went, hangover. That's it. That's just their way of life,
And also, I should just, while she's on the screen, I love Elizabeth Moss. Such a fan of yours, Ben, and I think she would have made the tea on this just to be involved. She was so modest and generous and completely committed.
I thought it was interesting with her that you, more than anybody else, that you could see the acting process laid bare, because she had to develop this accent.
Yeah, she's the only American.
Yeah, and she did it on set. And when she turned up, he had a tiny bit of an English accent and mostly American, but she had a lot of scenes where she didn't have to speak. And then she would do it a little bit all the time, every day, a little bit more, and then until it developed into this voice. And I was like, wow, okay, this is, because it's balls out. I mean, it's interesting because then you go on to see The Light, which is, having to do an American accent, the other end of it, being the only English person in an American cast. But I mean, it must be, really.
But also,
scary,
it's so. I think it's such a subtle thing that she does. There are lots of American actors who would come, in playing an English character, would probably be showier about it.
Yeah.
Helen is quite. She's a wallflower in lots of ways, and she's somebody who is. She's overtaken by the building in lots of ways. She doesn't. She gets given a raw deal.
Mm-hmm. I think we looked at Helen Mirren's interview with Parkinson.
Very good.
That was the one, and because Helen Mirren's voice is interesting, that it's changed over time. As everyone's. I mean, the 70s voice is very, very specific, and and she took it from there. So, okay, so this is the swimming pool kind of riot centerpiece of the movie. Almost is when it starts to really get out of hand, and for me, a terrifying kind of mixture of swimming pools, lighting, children running around. Jeremy mentions health and safety, but it's a real thing. It's really, I don't know. I mean, I can't even imagine, what it must have been like when, in the good old days of people drinking on set and all this kind of stuff.
That's what I remember of filmmaking, and many of our favourite films have been made in the way that the scenes were intended. But that's something that's changed.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't know it from looking at High Rise.
Yeah.
That health and safety, which is something we got in in Britain, which is that everything has to be checked and quadruply checked for safety, which can be a little bit, hampering in the scenes you're doing.
But at the same time, when you're looking at the monitor and you're, as a director, you've gone, I want a load of kids to run this from here to there. You think if one of them falls over, I was the one who told them to do it.
Yeah.
And you just go, oh God, please just let's get through the day with no one slipping over.
The best guard against health and safety. I remember I had to get in a swimming pool at some point, without spoiling anything, with another character on my shoulders, and everybody was saying I couldn't do it because there were no steps in the pool, and I remember just saying, okay, I'm not going to get my costume wet because we can only do this once, and I took my clothes off, stripped down to my underpants and got in the pool and showed everybody that it was possible, that I wasn't going to slip, and that I was basically going to take responsibility for my own health and my own safety.
Yeah, which is all well and good up until the moment where you just pick up a random prop and spray it in your mouth without checking what it was. Which is just...
Yeah. Well, it's on film forever.
Yeah, I was just sitting in the monitor going, he's going to... Oh, no. Okay.
Oh, dear.
That looks great, though.
He's gone there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was the dog drowning, which wasn't a real dog, obviously. It was a puppet.
Yeah.
But, I would get asked a lot in interviews. They love to ask you what went wrong or what was the thing you'd like to do again and all these kind of negative things about a movie. And my answer is, my only answer of my one regret of High Rise is that we didn't have the other half of that dog, which we'll see later on. It's only half a dog.
It's true.
But who knew that half a dog would be so expensive, But
but just back there, you saw Toby being played by a young actor called Louis Sook, who's terrific.
Oh my God! And he'd never done anything before. I think it was his first role. And
here he is in bed.
But then as a person on set, he was like a complete professional, wasn't he? And he was but he was his own man. He wasn't like a kind of weird kind of child actory.
He's so bright.
Thing.
But it's extraordinary when those young actors come in who really want to be actors. But immediately they know they want to be a professional actor, and he was one of those because he was
nothing. He was so sharp as well, though.
Quick, sharp.
But and that's the great tragedy of certification, because you probably won't see this film until he's till he's 15. It's a long way off. It's another like 3 or 4 years. But and I know, and that's the other thing. End of it is that at some point, some great big lurking Herbert will come up to me and go, I'm Louis Sook, remember me? I'll go, oh God. And he'll be taller than
He'll
me.
tell you what he thought.
Yeah.
So just as we're getting to it, Ben, to talk about all this stuff coming up with Augustus, how you shot it, because I think it's this to me is a turning point in the film.
Yeah.
And this is, I think, where the building begins to spiral out of control.
Yeah, and it's kind of, I like these little moments because it's a kind of it's a pause for thought for Laing as well, as he starts to gather the information. It's almost, this is like we always half a dog. Here we like to think about. When I was cutting this is the investigation, isn't it? This is Lang's TV show where he kind of goes investigates the dog and he tries to work out what's going on. Jane obviously is in the middle of her kind of metamorphosis into a different character. And she comes back later stronger and different.
But I always felt like this is the middle of the night where everything changes. This night in the high rise that events take place, which change all of the characters forever.
Yeah.
And
well, it's this music cue as well, isn't it? It's like this, and then the kind of energy of Wilder as he goes back to the party, and then does loads of coke and gets into fights, and the dancing starts.
But it's also the same night that as you start to in editorially and in the action, you're starting to kind of ramp up the pace and the tension. Yeah. And Wilder's extremity of passion and Monroe's extremity of despair kind of increase at the same time. Yeah. Don't do it again. I find I think it's a great sequence.
Yeah. I mean, it was.
And nothing is ever the same again.
Yeah, I like this kind of. I wanted it to really have the energy of a party that you just kind of a really packed room that you had to kind of elbow your way into. And
it was like that in reality. It felt like that.
Well, this is the other thing that how Laurie shot everything is that that we discussed is that we're on location in the past. Basically, they're not all these apartments that are built. They have ceilings on them. They're not. There's not loads of lights in here. As you can see from this shot, it's like 360. It's swinging around. It's looking at everything. I mean, it's all one shot that he follows Wilder all across the room and then punching Actually, that's a cut. But then when he starts punching him, it all kind of he goes into, you know, he picks him up and then punches him again and picks him up and punches him again. And it's like, you know, but that's the kind of testament to Dan Skinner's ability to take a punch as well, the fake to sell those punches.
I thought Tom really hit him.
Luke.
Yeah, no, it didn't happen.
Only joking. I'm just talking about the magic of cinema.
Exactly. It felt like. I mean, I must say, when I was looking at it on the monitors, I was like, "Ooh, you know." Actually, there's always a moment when you don't know.
Yeah.
Until they get up.
Yeah.
Or there was. I was shooting something the other day, and someone had to do a fall, and they were going, "Oh!" And we all rushed over to them, and they go, "I'm acting."
Yeah.
But that's how effective, and the special effect.
Yeah.
With the professional actors, and we've got the magic.
Yeah. Now here we go. Now it starts. I was very excited about doing this. You know, I like dancing. I like dancing in movies. I like seeing the characters have a good time. And this kind of to camera stuff, which is this is like an echo of what happens later on when they have the scene when they talk with each other. But it's like you're dancing with them. You're in it. You're right in the middle of this thing.
It was a fun day.
It was the last day.
Yeah. Having a dance off with Luke Evans. He's got the shapes.
Yeah, and he ruined his neck. He said he could barely move the neck.
Whiplash.
Yeah, I've never seen a man move so fast and so close to a lens. And this was something that we kind of, on the day we rigged up with. I said to Laurie, I really want to see them dance slow, and so we rigged up this big fat light to get it. And it's like it's Lang's realisation. He can see something in him, and he wants it, but he doesn't know what it is. But then this is all tied in with Monroe's suicide. So they're all being drawn. These characters are all being tied together in this moment.
By the way, I always thought Monroe was an extraordinary creation, because Monroe doesn't exist in the book.
No,
he comes out of Amy's head, I think.
Yeah.
There is a death from
falling,
falling.
It does the same thing in the book, doesn't it? It kicks off, but it's not really talked about again. No. It's not part of the plot, and I think that was part of Amy's trying to pull the book together, to rub off the edges of the more difficult kind of formal aspects of the book, to make it more, didn't want to change it much, but it just needed a little bit of help to become a movie, because the forms are so different. Again, here we go. We got 15 minutes before the rap party, probably, when we shot this.
Yeah.
So tensions were high, and kind of excitement. But then also the voiceover at the beginning of the movie was then recorded as the last thing that we shot.
Remember?
Yeah.
It was a very emotional moment, actually, having lived inside, the high rise for 7 weeks, just to then read the opening lines of the book.
I've developed a really unfortunate habit of crying at the end of shoots as well, which is getting worse and worse, and I have to now, just before the final cut, I have to go and hide somewhere to have a bit of a sob, and then come back decomposed, and then go and get drunk. That's well, they're
very intense. Making a film is a very intense emotional experience.
Here he is, Reece Shearsmith.
Yeah,
the man, the legend, Steele,
who you've worked with before.
Yes, in Enfield in England, and I'm a massive fan of Reece's.
He's amazing.
Yeah. Now this would have been a shot by Nick Gillespie on B Unit, and Nick was kind of like going out and hoovering up loads of little details all the time, which helped us glue the movie together back in the squash court,
which would have been shot the same day as the other squash scenes.
Yeah.
For anyone interested.
So now it's all looking a bit, the lights are turned off. Even upstairs, it's not quite coming. Something's broken about the building, and this is this rotten fruit shot is something that Nick did. Now what would happen is we'd shoot, and then I'd edit in the evenings. And while I was editing, Nick would be there and come in, and I'd give him a list of stuff that I wanted. Sometimes there was things that he would just go off and shoot on his own, and then we'd put them in and go do more of that. And sometimes there were specific things we sent him out to do.
I'm sure his people are. Sienna Miller is actually wearing a wig.
Yeah, which I didn't even realise.
Yeah,
well,
which many people don't know. But, she was is, I think, just testament to the work of Wakane Yoshihara, who did all the hair and makeup.
Yeah.
Put the sideburns on Luke Evans, and monitored blood and paint and sweat, but I think at the time Sienna actually had very short cropped blonde hair, and this was a wig, which many people don't know.
Yeah, and I was really surprised when I saw her. Like, I mean, obviously I knew it was a wig, but halfway through the shoot, I saw her in a normal
in her
hair.
civvies.
Yeah, I was like, whoa. Now, technically, this stuff on the balcony was always a worry because of, obviously we're not 25 stories up, and do you have a green screen behind them? Do you have a painted psych, old school, kind of just a painting of the thing, and what sells it as being real? And in the end, it was we built this air pipe thing that could give silent breeze, and I think that was the thing for me that always, when you see people outside and they're green screen, it's that the hair is always really static, and it's that tiny detail, but it just adds a little. Your eye sees it's moving, and that
the curtains are moving, and hair is moving, and clothes are moving.
So there's an atmosphere rather than the dead kind of emptiness of a studio.
Maybe worth saying here that you see all the characters moving up and down the building in different apartments. They might be in Lang's apartment, Charlotte's apartment, Talbot's apartment, Wilder's apartment. There was only ever one apartment. Yeah. The same space redressed for different characters.
The doors all change colours.
The doors change colours.
All the numbers change, and the squares on the ground change colour. Which was a massive nightmare for the art department, and the fact that we decided to do it like Corbusier, so that's a shiny floor disaster. I mean, what it must be like living in that apartment. Well, they must have to clean that floor every 5 minutes,
But it's so interesting, just as an actor, while we're in Lang's apartment at this stage of the shoot, we were in Lang's apartment every day shooting. Basically, it's essentially shooting sequentially all the scenes in Lang's apartment. We never left. Yeah. We didn't leave the apartment to go and do squash, to go to the swimming pool, because we stayed in Lang's apartment, and then we moved on and redressed it as somebody else's.
Yeah, well, this is the vagaries of filmmaking, isn't it? I mean, I think we shot Jeremy Irons out first. And then, was that, how long was that?
2 weeks.
2 weeks, yeah. And so we basically shot the whole film, and then had to go back and start again, which was which makes a particular challenge for when you've got a building that's slowly decaying, and also you've got actors that have to have a character arc of going from as they developing over time, and keeping track of what position that they're in. Now this is a fave scene of mine. The Peter Ferdinando. Who's
been in how many of your films?
This is the second, because he was in Field in England.
Field,
yeah. So, and James Purefoy, who I adore, basically, I've man love for him, and he was from being in Rome, and he was getting married in the middle of this film, and it was all really difficult to get him to do it because of scheduling, and that was I think this is my main indulgence. I was indulged by production, was to get Purefoy involved in this film, and they had to shift everything around to put him in that, and the reception area was the two big things that I stamped my foot about a little bit, and that was and it was worth every penny. But it was great to see Peter Ferdinando's version of his posh persona.
Newscaster,
it was very good.
So this is a scene where essentially the upper floors are talking about separating off from the lower floors. Do you want to talk about this, Ben, at all? Just thematically, like how you... I'm just genuinely interested to hear your opinion on it, because so many people have an opinion about what high-rise is about, whether it's about civilization itself, human nature, class war. I wondered if you had a take on it.
Well, I think it's part of the thing that it's... For me, again, it's like these multiple stories, and like this story's been happening the whole time.
Yeah,
they've obviously been watching what's been going on in the wilder end of the street, and now all those parties that have been going on, and there's this feeling that. But I like, it's not that like a normal narrative where you come to another bit of the narrative, and then that starts and it goes from A to B. This is something that's obviously started at the beginning of the movie. These conversations, it's almost like they never left the Aber SOS party. They're in exactly the same position.
But it was, as you're describing it, a party that continues.
Yeah.
From the moment Lang arrives in the building, the party's already sort of smouldering.
Yeah, and you can see the guys who the classical musicians are in the later parties. They're all in the background, still there. So they got hired for that gig, and they never went home. You
never leave. You never leave once you get in.
Yeah. And so, but as part of the story, they're still in a kind of almost rational mode of like kind of they're starting to think that it's not unreasonable what they're saying. It's a little bit unreasonable, but it's not outrageous. You know, but they're only a week away from that. You know? So and I always like that with these things. It's like baby steps towards very bad behaviour.
Yes,
and that's certainly in Sightseers, and it's in Kill List as well. It's like you just don't. The moral slippage is kind of imperceptible almost.
But nevertheless happening slowly.
Yeah. These little decisions of these little jealousies and angers and needs kind of slowly build up. And that's what I really loved about the script. It was it's a fractal script. It's like every moment has a counterbalance that kind of starts to tip one way or the other until the building's really swinging backwards and forth.
I think it's amazing how a story like this, Ballard's writing the book, the adaptation, can contain so many interpretations. Some people always talk about Ballard's fascination with the fact that we were so obsessed with technology and how technology was going to change the way we think and the way we conceive of ourselves. Other people think it's about inequality and he was somehow prescient about that. I think I'm sure you found this too, but in talking to people who've watched the film, they all read something else into it.
I think it's because the story itself moves through different phases, and I don't think that we've seen all of High Rise yet.
Yeah,
we've seen the beginning bit of High Rise. We've seen the first 50 minutes of High Rise, but we're not into the final stages of what he's predicting, and that's the really scary end of it. When the complete breakdown and the complete kind of acceptance. Just going, oh, that's fine.
This is the new status.
Yeah. We'll just get on with this.
Jeremy, what do you make of it all?
Well, I was just about to talk about J.G. Ballard.
Yes,
Jim, a really magnificent man who I knew for many years because I worked with him with David Cronenberg on an adaptation of Crash, and he would have loved this film. He would have loved Ben. Unfortunately, he passed before he had a chance to meet Ben and you and see you play him, because Laing is Ballard. I mean, arguably he is, because he always writes about himself and the centre of his characters. So he would have been delighted. He would have enjoyed all the stimulated discussion surrounding the film until people either get it or finally don't get it. But he really enjoyed that about it, and he would have loved it. And that's one of the regrets I have, that he couldn't have enjoyed this, what we're talking about now, that he's not in the room with us. He is in the room with us. His films and his subjects in the room, but he was a very special man.
Well, what do you make of the multiplicity of interpretation that people have about this piece of work?
That's what it's meant to be.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what cinema is meant to be. That's what art is meant to be. To use the horrific word, it's an interpretation. It's interpretation of what's going on, and the film works on multiple levels. And you can see things in it even that we never saw in it ourselves. We made it, because I don't know what questions you've received, Ben, about the film from people who've seen it, but I know for sure there's some questions that people saw. You had no idea what they said. Oh, really? That's interesting you saw that, because I never intended it. But if it's there, I'm very happy, because that's the random quality of art. And this film is full of that, because you adapted the book with the new characters, and then it's still the same. It's the same theme and the same feeling that you got out of the book.
Yeah, I mean, there's potentially stuff that's packed in there from Ballard that we're still understanding, I think, to a degree.
And then reading his book after seeing the film it's even better to do it the other way around. Which is what is traditional, because High-Rise has really taken off the feelings out of the book and visualized it with the people, and that's been very, very strong.
Now, this is part of another question, this is a question I get a lot, is like, why don't they leave? Why don't they leave the tower? And that's a question that people have of the book, of the film. And this is the kind of moment where the characters are, for the first time, trying to leave or thinking about leaving, and then then they don't.
It's been asked of Buñuel, that question.
What, from Exterminating Angel?
Correct.
Yeah. But I mean, my understanding of it is that they there's too much invested in the tower, and they're starting to enjoy the new versions of themselves, and that's why they wouldn't go. But also the thing is, they're not prisoners. They can move. Some of them are still going to work and trying to maintain their lives, and they're coming backwards and forwards.
Neither you are a prisoner at a great party that you just really can't leave.
Yeah,
the party's
exactly.
too good to leave.
Yeah.
I don't want to leave this party. I want to be the last person to leave this party.
Now this dog, Kai. Now the shot.
I love this dog.
The shot that Tom was saying he really enjoyed at the party was the only time that dog did what it was told.
That's true.
And it does an incredible thing in a very long shot, and it does it right, and he walks into the lift. For the rest of the movie, it never.
I comforted that dog off set because he was so. He was the only actor you go terrible bollocking to. And that dog, I had to comfort that beautiful Kai off set. I tell him he was beautiful, stroke him. You can go back with that brutal set. You beautiful animal. You beautiful animal.
But to be fair,
just couldn't learn his
to be
lines.
fair,
Just couldn't- one of those actors
animal
couldn't learn
lovers
his
out
lines.
there, I did not talk harshly to Kai. I may have given him a sideways glance of pure hatred, but I did. And a particular style of Kai now is the wonderful Julia Deakin. Of his performance, if you notice later in the film, he does a lot of this thing where he looks out from behind a wall at characters, and that's because several people are behind the wall holding onto him and pushing him out. So yeah, it was a kind of a slightly untrainable. He's more like a wolf, wasn't he, than a dog, and he's a slightly untrainable breed apparently. But
But he's very handsome.
Very, very handsome dog.
So this for me was
It's
a big
all going out of hand.
Yeah, this was a big treat of when the music started turning up. So I'd cut this montage, and the music from Clint Mansell started turning up, the demos, and then was so brilliant. And as soon as we put it together, we were like, oh wow, God, this is fantastic, So this is kind of the bridge which shows, Laing going backwards and forwards to work and trying to, get his head around what's happening while the parties are going on, but the parties are starting to break down, and the building is slipping.
There is an amazing chapter which I feel like I have to just talk about in the book, where Laing tries to leave the building after one of these long nights, and he puts on a clean shirt and a clean suit, and he looks at himself in the mirror, and he walks out of the building, and he makes it halfway across the car park, and has a kind of nervous breakdown,
which is kind of in the film a bit, which is that shot where that was an amazing shot by Milk, where again everything painted in, it turns around Laing as he's looking, but it's not quite as explicit as as it is in the book.
But then he rushes back in, puts on his gym shoes and his sweaty clothes, and takes comfort and solace in this new version of himself, in this new version of the truth, which I always found fascinating. That actually Laing, in spite of how horrendous his new circumstances are, they are at least honest, and that he'd rather live in this new society than live outside, which has become a kind of a lie to himself. I loved also, I found out as I was researching it that one of J.G. Ballard's favourite books is Robinson Crusoe. Yeah. And he was just fascinated by that question of what we all do on a desert island. And so many of his books sort of explore that. They put characters in
Concrete Island is very similar.
Concrete Island is like that. That basically, who do you become when you're up against it, when the pressure's on, when there's a fight for survival? And there is no more brutal fight for survival than in this sequence.
Yeah, so here we are back in the supermarket, and now there's a market change. It's it's not as it once was, but yeah, and so this was a sequence that was shot as one long continuous take. Mainly, it was never going to be in one long shot, but it was kind of it was so complicated. It was the only way of getting through the day, But it was pretty exhilarating shooting it, wasn't it? And we're just going again and again, and it was just, everyone's moving around the camera. And
I made a deal with the stuntman,
Glenn
who you're
Marks,
about to see,
yeah.
Who?
That was
the stunt
Glenn's the
coordinator, and his name was Rob, and he was in a suit and he was padded up, and I knew Ben wanted to shoot what you're about to see without a single cut. And it's Laing embracing his feral nature, so that you will see the camera does not cut until Laing walks out of the supermarket.
Yeah.
Here comes Rob in the black suit, and this was all one take.
Yeah, even up to Laurie being knocked over almost
Yeah.
with the camera, which is, you know. And this is it. This is what. Whoa, there he goes.
Yeah.
It's like, this is what, you know. This is what my understanding of fights. This is what fights look like.
Yeah.
They go very quickly into the grapple and onto the ground, and they're not very long usually. Unless you're a trained martial artist, you're not going to get the big ape. And on the day, this was kind of
An improvised line, which was left in the film. It's my paint.
It was, it was terrifying watching it, because you're just looking and going, that's a concrete floor. Oh, God.
I was
think
bruised.
people-
Honestly, I was bruised for a week. After
I
that.
did notice that people gave you a wide berth for a couple of days after that.
Yeah.
I have to say.
Yeah,
ran
it
the luncheon trolley. So that people didn't want to get near you just in case they got hold of something you wanted.
It was a very strange day. Strange thing to have to get in, actually, just physically to do that. People often, I think people often presume when you do physical stuff on film that it's all, that somehow there's
your body doesn't know
all-
it's not
yeah,
real, does
your
it?
body
That's-
knows it's real. It was towards the end. It was the last penultimate day of shooting, I think, and I was covered in bruises and scratches for about a week.
Did you chip your tooth as well? There was
I did
something-
indeed.
Yeah,
I chipped my tooth.
yeah. The only I
willingly.
I did. I had a few injuries on the film, mainly just putting on weight. That was that's what I took for the team, just slightly.
Got to thank the caterers for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that is a stunt that you wouldn't really think about. That's
Yeah.
Luke Evans in that trolley being tipped over, and
Yeah.
that is nasty
Yeah.
as well. You know.
By the way, that painting sequence is one of my happier days. And the paint over the eye was an accident.
Yes. Which caused all sorts of trouble
and
with
continuity.
yeah. Because
Yeah,
it
poor
was
Ben.
shot out of sequence, so then we have to commit to that, and then
Yeah.
how do we get back out of it? Which you'll see later on.
I've never been much of a painter and decorator, me.
I wouldn't hire you
Yeah.
on the evidence of that. But also, considering he goes to the supermarket for one can of paint, it was very good value. That paint.
great value. Lasts a long time.
And this is a classic bit of 70s parenting, where you just dump your kids off and go off to the pub, basically. So it's been set up. It's a bit difficult to work out where they are, but they're in the squash court. So the squash court's been recommissioned and turned into a creche.
Look after your brother.
We shouldn't think too hard about what the ventilation situation is with that fire, but they'd all be dead of carbon monoxide poisoning reasonably quickly. But yeah, it's Helen is now starting her ascension
Yeah.
through the building, and in a way, Helen is the most successful character in the film, I think.
Yeah.
Because she gets to the top and she says what she wants to do, and then she goes and does it pretty much.
And brings life into the building.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I love this for a bit of Elizabeth Moss here, where she has no lines in this sequence, and yet you feel like she's talking, and that's something about the richness of her performances, and I found that in her rushes all the time. You'd look at the rushes and go, "Geez, this is all really, really good." And it was both her and Sienna Miller had that quality of of timing, natural timing, and now here we go, the orgy stuff. Now I slightly
Do
over.
you often start sentences like that, Ben?
I slightly over-egged this away from what was described in the script, and I thought it would be great to have loads of naked people, and then it's turned into, oh my god, it was a nightmare. So we couldn't get any naked. Well, the cost of naked people in Northern Ireland was quite high because it'd been pushed up by Game of Thrones, and so production managers came up with this idea of hiring a local swingers group to come in and be nude, and so they did. And so when you see,
there they all are.
There they all are. Look, there they are in the background. There's, Oscar-winning Jeremy Irons and swingers in the same frame. But they're on the left-hand side doing. Who knows what's going on back there? But then anyone who's got clothes on is a natural proper extra. And so when you've got this kind of combination here with a naked person and an extra, he's like going, "Oh my god!"
Good heavens!
Yeah. So directing is one.
What is going on?
So I'm, one side of me's half of my brain's trying to direct the actors, but the other half is trying to make sure the background doesn't get out of control.
And whichever part of your brain is not being used in those two activities,
Yeah.
is worrying about the horse.
Yes, the poor horse, which has had to been transported up a flight of stairs, especially built by, I think it was built by the Grip
40
Department.
flights of stairs to be believable.
Yeah. No, I would have helicoptered in from the top, if you're going to do that. Yeah. So, and now this for me was a massive treat. Again, dancing. So I got this is the kind of mirror scene to the other dancing sequence. Oh, this guy in the background's got the largest penis I've ever seen in my life. Look, if he can just...
Oh, Ben.
That's
what
a
have you done?
beast. And there was much more footage of him, but we just couldn't have him in the scene because you just get distracted. You can't think. Anyway, so here we are. Now these guys are all dancing to Donna Summer, I Feel Love.
Oh, right.
So yeah, and this was...
There's Alex.
There she is. This was great. And so these are the extras who are... the camera basically went round from person to person. We're seeing, what have you got? What have you got for us?
Yeah.
Show it.
It's interesting because there's a lot of it's when there's a when you read the book, there's a lot of this stuff goes on.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of orgies and sex, and it gets more
Helping
and more.
with the baby here.
Yeah, another slightly awkward scene to shoot in front of the company of the crew.
Yeah, but that was Amy's idea. She's going, he's helping her have the baby. So I was like, okay.
But when you read it, it's funny how you probably, because Ballard keeps you at an arm's length from it, you don't actually think in adapting it that you're going to have to. That's the challenge of adapting the book, is actually including the promiscuity of all the characters, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, successfully done.
So yeah, and a particular favourite shot is the one on the floor with all this, which is where you don't want to be in an orgy.
No.
Crawling around on all fours.
Oh, can we talk about this, please?
Yes. So here comes. So this is the beginning of Wilder's journey back up the building again.
Yeah.
So to do his documentary, and this was quite an early scene with obviously in the film because Jeremy Irons is it's quite early on. So it's the kind of first scene with Luke, I think. It was. Yeah, and then again this whole entrance area is now all smashed to pieces. Incredibly, we only shot in there for. It was only standing that set for like two days.
A couple of days.
Such a beautiful set. Such a crying shame. But I love this kind of standoff between these two. It's like when you get two major characters who kind of meet accidentally. You rarely get this, so they don't know who each other are, but they kind of know who each other are.
This is your version of Bruce Willis and Alan Rickman in Die Hard.
Die Hard, Die Hard and Die Hard 2 obviously are always in my mind when making this film. Now here comes one of my favourite actors, Neil Maskell, and he here is walking in from another film, Kill List, and he is playing his character in Kill List's father, and Neil did me a solid by turning up and doing this this is a massively over-spec'd actor to do this tiny part. But and I'd written a line in it as well on top of really cheekily on top of Amy's script that establishes him as Jay's father from Kill List, and then I shamefully showed it to her and she went, "What are you doing?" So I had to take it out. But in my mind and in this commentary, I will say that was
the point.
That's what that was. Yeah, that it somehow has a connection in an extended universe to Kill List. Yeah, post-coital cigarette. Don't get that enough in cinema anymore. That's not allowed.
It's the 70s after all.
Yeah. And so this is Kilroot, which was a power station in Northern Ireland, which was one of our big locations. Peter Ferdinando's incredibly pert bottom. I was very impressed by that.
Hashtag Ferdinando bum.
So yeah, this is it's kind of another little rest before it really kind of kicks off again.
I remember doing this with Elizabeth that day. Actually, we were dancing to Nat King Cole, I think.
Yeah.
From memory.
This was terrifying because Keeley was actually running on top of that conveyor belt thing. and that is one wrong foot on that, and it's oof. So we, I was just there with bated breath, going, "Just okay, action, cut, action, cut," to get her off that. And Jeremy is always completely committed to his performances here. So we give him the cane and go, "You're not going to smash this cane, are you, Jeremy?" And he goes, "No, I won't smash the cane. Don't smash the cane, Jeremy. We've only got. I won't smash the cane." Smash. First day, over across some extras back, and then we, oh god. But it does look really, he looks like he's marauding, for real. Eileen Davies from Sightseers here.
Very true to the book, this.
Yeah, and this again, it's the story of these characters. You've seen her very briefly at the beginning of the movie, kind of washing the dog turds away up in the flat, in the penthouse, and then you see her in the backgrounds of a lot of shots, and then you see where they're actually living, which is kind of in this weird cupboard full of things they've hoarded.
I've always enjoyed this line about "I'm going to hand you the key."
Yeah,
and it's a film. It's a line that can go into hundreds of movies. And she hands him a gun. "I'm handing you the key." And I always really very enjoy that this scene. Yeah, I mean it's compression of storytelling. Like in the same way as that other the one in the reception area that's coming through and complaining about if you lower people, don't
overload the system, there'll be cuts.
Which is it. Boom. That's the whole film in one moment. And the same with this. It's like that. It's a kind of a linking sequence, which is going. I'm the story. I've turned up. What have I got to do? Go upstairs. Here's the key.
I think Royal's key line is about to come up now, so I'll just you can talk about it, because everybody, when you see a film and you're involved with the film and you see the thing being made in front of your eyes and you get your favourite little bits in it, and you've got your favourite bits that you shot, you've got your favourite. I've got the favourite bits that I watch and listen to, and I love it when Jeremy Irons said, "Well, I think you've all." Well, Royal says to everybody. So it shows he's completed. "I think what you've forgotten, this is my party."
Yeah. And that was taken. That was lifted from the press conference for Antichrist. Lars von Trier says it.
Really?
Yeah. And he was being. They were all shouting at him, going. And I think it was a journalist going, I demand to know what this means. This film. I demand to be told the meaning of why you've done this. And he says those lines.
"This is my party."
Yeah, you misunderstand what you're doing here. And it's like,
"Please, Ben." Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah, here we are, another awkward sex scene. But it's the beginning of the kind of alliance of the women of the tower. I think that's like the first moment where you start to see it kind of coming together.
One thing, you are definitely the best amenity in the building.
And so this is basically the beginning of the end for the tower, and we're building up to. Here's one of my favourite shots. Furniture, doll's house furniture.
My name is Richard Wilde.
So there's a lot of these kind of practical shots in the movie, and that one was one that Nick Gillespie went off and did as a second unit, and everyone thought I was mental, and they was never going to come together. And then when we saw it, it looked great. But so this is the kidnap of Helen and the and Wilder's final kind of transformation into his more kind of caveman self. I got asked about this the other day in a Q&A, and they said, "Is this a reference to David Lynch, this ear?" And I went, "No, it's not. It's not. It could be Dali or anything." So I went home and I told Amy. I said, and I explained the story, and she said, "Oh yeah, it was a reference to David Lynch." I was like, "Oh God, okay, all right." And I used to have that tape cassette recorder when I was a kid. But this was a very difficult scene, obviously, to shoot, and I know that Sienna was kind of worried about it. Just the dialogue stuff up until the kind of violence happens, and it was really tricky. But what I got Bobby Entwistle to do was, and I got the actors to perform the scene without the dialogue, and I played the dialogue back in on speakers, so they could hear themselves. And that kind of broke the moment through, you know, and it gave everyone confidence. But it was really eerie as well, you know. And it's a nice process. And I never do it. I always talk about doing it, and I never do it enough. But it gives you these reactions which you'd never get otherwise. And usually the camera's always on whoever's talking, and you miss the reactions. And so in the edit, you're going, oh God, you know, you're always covered off the dialogue, but you're always looking for the reaction shots, and that gives you it straight away.
And then this scene has this extraordinary version of SOS again, which certainly gives me it gives an extra power to the scene. It softens the scene and it makes it stronger at the same time. It's a very unusual combination of music and a scene, and I think people who've seen this film who speak to me, this is one of the scenes that really shows some really fantastic filmmaking, in as much you can accept it and watch it, though it's too tough to see.
I mean, this we only shot like twice, and it was so harrowing that we just couldn't face it. I mean, Sienna couldn't, you know, she was only good for about one take of this, and the whole crew just looked around, everyone just you know, let's go and shoot something fun again.
Yeah,
this is just horrible. It felt very, very real in the room. So this track is Portishead covering SOS by ABBA. And again, I've met Jeff Barrow from Portishead through Twitter, which was fantastic, you know. And I've been a massive fan of Portishead for years and years and years, and it was an absolute honour to get to work with them. And when I saw this with the music on it in the cinema for the first time, when we were doing one of the review screenings, it made me cry, you know, just straight out. And I think there's something, Martin Pavey, we haven't mentioned Martin Pavey, that's pretty bad. Martin Pavey, sound designer, who's been the sound designer across all the films I've done, he was saying that he couldn't understand really what Jeff had done in the production of this music. It was almost, the music almost sits in the middle of the auditorium. It's like in a 3D shape, you know, and the bass is so fat, and it's so, but it's simple, but it's so strong, and that's what, you know, I guess that's no surprise when you're, you know,
and the voice.
Yeah, well, Beth's voice is something else. You know, I wanted this because I wanted them to do this because I knew that this moment was a kind of emotional. It's such a punch, and it's such a betrayal of. It's like the film's almost betrayed the audience at this point as well, because it's taken two characters that you really like, and it's broken one of them, and the other one is completely betrayed your confidence. You like Wilder, and now you can never look at him in the same way again. You really like Charlotte as well, and now the film has done this to her.
Yeah.
Kind of, you feel that a bit, but then you start to see her true feelings for Laing as well. It's very very sad, this scene. But and then this music.
It's an extraordinary piece of music.
Yeah, I mean, I think Beth's voice is like kind of emotional violence. I always think it's kind of, it's grown up. I don't know. I remember we were watching Portishead live on Glastonbury on TV, and just thinking, you know, that their music it feels adult in a way that a lot of kind of popular music, I couldn't call it pop music, but popular music doesn't, you know.
It's so haunting, the music. I remember you played me a demo of this very early on.
Yes, it was the version without the lyric in it.
Without the lyric.
All the stuff in the lift is shot to that, isn't it? I'd forgotten about that. Yeah.
And I found it was just because I find music so evocative, so helpful. It's a sort of slip road into something very emotional. It takes you out of your head, it puts you into your into the feeling of something, and just hearing the background, the bass to this track, it seemed to me to sum up the kind of the cruelty of the high rise in some way. That that this was a very overwhelming space with a huge amount of psychological pressure, and I always found it incredibly atmospheric and incredibly helpful.
Yeah, a shocking segue from Amy Jump there into this dialogue, which is
this is Bill Patterson.
Yeah.
Bill Patterson, who fine actor, another incredible player we had in our troupe.
I mean, I love Bill Patterson, and I'd loved him since seeing him in Singing Detective, which was one of my favourite TV shows of all time, and it was it was incredible to get to work with him, and he just kind of breezed in,
flew out,
did his bit, and went, and he was just, you know, effortless.
Brilliant. That's a pro. He entered the party, but he's one of the only ones who managed to leave.
Yeah. This was a very funny day as well. There was kind of, particularly for the, one of the bits of direction I had with this was that everyone had to say it as if they had been on drugs, and they were all really slow, and the deliveries were really slow, except for Dan Skinner, who I told to really scream in Jeremy Irons' face for his line, and I didn't tell Jeremy, which was a bit cruel, to be fair, but you can see this reaction that Jeremy has from this, which is like, oh, hang on. And poor Dan is like going to say, he apologised to Jeremy after, he goes, I didn't do it, it wasn't my choice. Don't think bad of me. But I mean, this, there we go, that's you can't hear how loud it is because it's been mixed and balanced, but that was insanely loud in that moment, and it had been so quiet up until that point. There we go, look at it. It's going, what? And James Purefoy performs up 90% of his acting at that fireplace in this movie.
Yes,
so
he does. Yeah.
All his scenes are basically
fireplace.
Yeah, and he's holding court in the sunken sofa.
Most of taken leave. Quite right.
Yeah, but he's just so keen. That's what I like about Pangborn. You know, he's like really organising everything, and he's quite excited about this idea of this the cricket and the
colonisation of the entire building. Then
he's reordering the world.
Yeah, and Royal's kind of going, oh, this is interesting, and this is something that Jeremy was saying, oh, I'd be excited about that, and I go, no, you wouldn't. You'd be cross. You're Royal. You don't like being told what to do. And then when you watch the rushes back, and you go, oh, damn you, Irons. You're right. So that went straight in. But yeah, there's definitely, the line is drawn then between the men and the women.
French did all the time.
Yeah.
Motions carried. Meeting adjourned.
What I find so interesting about the book and about Amy's adaptation is actually, as you've mentioned, that
that was Amy's favourite line there. The wives are rotating.
The wives are rotating.
Yeah.
Well, it segues into what I was going to say, which is, you know, men are their own undoing in this story, and I always found it so interesting that a new kind of matriarchy is born in the high rise. That almost there's some fatal flaw in men, that they just want to fight each other, and by the end of the story, it's actually the women who are running the show. Yeah, but also I think it's like an arrogance of narrative as well. It's like every story is about, you know, the doctor or the architect or the you know, or the father, which Royal is, or the kind of wild man alpha male, and when they're all completely present in this, and they all completely fail. And I think that's really interesting. And that's what I found about the book, which was that I'd made so many assumptions about what way it was going to go, and I was wrong at every turn. And he's a slippery character, Ballard, in that respect. Oh yeah, so that was the little bit with, you know, a little tiny seed of Tom washing to get us across the continuity. Because I had paint on my face and we shot a whole bunch of stuff without the paint.
Yeah. And so this was another thing in the book that I really liked, which was the fact that the residents were filming themselves and projecting it onto the walls, which kind of, you know, for me is Ballard basically predicting YouTube and our kind of broadcast culture that we're now in. And then we're kind of witnessing the end of of Steele's story there. So Steele has had his own little movie in itself, you know, as he's developed through thing, and he's another one with Helen, who's a kind of successful character within the building. You know, he's he survives and he finds pleasures in it. You know?
But Steele is and again, in interpreting the film, Steele may be the last person left, because he's going to have Laing next.
Yeah, potentially, or maybe the women will have him. You know, it's hard to say.
But he's on the trail to he'd like to get Laing.
Well, there's a delicious tiny bit of performance that Reese does. This tiny little look back, and you just go, wow. You know, there's a problem for Laing later on for not going along with him to sit with Cosgrove.
So I think this is the beginning of one of my favourite scenes in the film.
Yeah, this is like the centre of the movie,
Yeah.
pretty much, isn't it? Which is the face-off between these two positions.
I loved shooting this with Luke, because I think you haven't really seen Laing and Wilder together, and they both hit rock bottom.
We kind of broken Luke a bit here by playing in the sound of the rape scene really loud as he was sitting there for a good 20 minutes.
Yeah,
and that's why he looks, well, apart from his brilliant acting, that's why he looks a bit,
and
he's
quality makeup and everything.
but there is a discussion in this scene about the sort of what high rise is about. The challenge of the high rise, what it's.
And the doctor's attaché case comes out.
Yeah. He's being examined, but actually they're examining each other while there is.
But also the audience. That's the other element to it. So it's us. It's you.
Yeah.
The audience is unfortunately the problem.
But I think that this is props, special props. Immediately he opens the briefcase. The sound you've heard so many times. Pad and paper out. He's a serious one.
Mm-hmm.
He is, that sort of signals us. Laing is the doctor.
The doctor,
which at the time absolutely terrified poor Bobby Entwistle. He wasn't ready for it. He was on his 6th coffee that day, and when those things went off in his ears, it sounded like gunshots. Apparently, and he jumped out of his. But yeah, this is, I think, quite a difficult bit of dialogue to perform. It's pretty meaty. And Luke just does it with aplomb here, and it was shot reasonably quick. I think maybe it was over and done in a 45 minutes or something like that. But it was one of those things where you shoot and you go, well, it's not gonna. There's no way this could be better. We'd just be kicking a dead dog.
This game was in the last few days. We shot this in the last few days.
It was towards the end of the production. Yeah, because the room was all smashed to pieces, wasn't it? And it was and I remember I had a really long edit of this because you hold it really long for ages, and there was a version that was like of this scene that was like 8 minutes long or something, which won't be coming back for the director's cut. This is the director's cut, but it's and this I really like as well, which is Amy's. We talked to Amy about this, and we said, well, what's written on the paper, and why does it never get shown? And she goes, well, you have to have the film has to have its own secrets, and it has secrets from the audience. It's kind of obvious what it is by the end of the movie, but in this moment it's withholding,
But it's in that scene where Wilder says to Laing, living in a high rise requires a special type of behaviour, and it's the most. There's this perfect marriage of Ballard's writing and Amy's writing in that moment, I think.
Well, it's the thing that the villain tells the hero that he's the villain.
Yes.
You go, oh shit. And he admits, he goes, oh yeah,
Perhaps
I am.
you're right.
Oh god. A sterling bit of dog acting with Jeremy Irons clutching all these dogs in place and using his knowledge and friendship with dogs to control them with his mind. Incredible. But and
that's real. He does absolutely love dogs.
He mind melds with them, doesn't he? He was before each take, he was grabbing their heads and looking into their eyes and going, you will do what I say. It was very impressive. And this was the most ridiculous thing I've ever had to do with an actress, which was, this is her water's breaking, and they built this rig that was going in her knickers, which was the water's breaking. And did it work? No. So we were kind of there with a poor Elizabeth Moss going, and art department pumping away for this water, and you could never see any of it, and she's just standing there with this stuff running down her legs, and we're like, I'm so sorry. So yeah, here he is. Well, yeah. So that was the scene we just saw. Again, was something I really that Amy brought out that she really liked from the book, was the idea that Laing cleans.
Yeah.
And he's starting to finding new ways of being useful within the building, and try and put stuff back together again. Purefoy has moved from the fireplace. Yeah. And that was one of my great regrets of this movie, is that you can't quite read the label on that bottle, which says cooking rum.
Right. This is a scene, I think, I remember, this is a scene in the book where Laing almost gets thrown off the top.
Yeah.
Very, very dark. I shot all those action quite quickly, remember?
Yeah. The flying school.
Flying school. So angel wings made out of architects' plans
by the children.
By the children.
Yeah. And he's still Simmons is still obsessed with the tie, which I quite like, and you know.
I remember when we shot this that Dan and I kept trying to work out a safe way of him hanging me over the edge, but we realised it didn't look real at all. So he actually had to try to push me over the edge, and I had to make sure that he didn't.
Yeah,
slightly intense. Experience.
Yeah, I remember. Well, I'm probably off to the left here looking, and I was looking at going, you know. Even getting up quick off a sofa for me is quite an effort. But to balance with your arse on the edge of a precipice, you know,
with a long way to fall.
Yeah. It's on my special skills, Jeremy.
It was in Spotlight.
It's on my CV.
What with horse riding, fencing,
and levitation,
and hanging off the edge of a high-rise building.
And you can just about see the post office tower in the distance, which I always like.
Yeah.
Tony Way returns. This is one of the very few films I've made with Tony where he lives to the end. So I was really excited about that.
How many of your films is he in?
He is in 3 of my films. Yes. And in the Doctor Who episodes. But he dies straight away. He doesn't even get like 5 minutes into it before Peter Ferdinando sucks his eyes out.
This scene is Sienna Miller's first day at the office.
Yes.
Remember, this was her first scene. And this was her first day in Charlotte's shoes. Quite surreal for her, I think.
Yeah. And for me, a really tough day because we're on the docks at Belfast and a massive steel delivery is happening in about half a mile off, and trucks are backing up and being loaded with steel. And all I can hear at this point is the trucks going doot, doot, doot. And the beeping noise
vehicle is reversing.
That noise is pitched at exactly the frequency of dialogue to make sure that people hear it and don't get run over by it. So, you know, everyone's like it's a really intense scene, it's a really difficult scene. And, you know, I come from behind the monitor and everyone's going, is it good? I'm going, it's great. But I know that in my heart of hearts that this whole scene might be totally screwed by the sound. So, but again, Martin Pavey, sound designer extraordinaire, no ADR on this. It's all the original dialogue. I thought we were going to have to scrap the whole lot, and oh my god, it was a horror. And he took all the beeps out, and I'd still he's made an incredible rod for his back by doing this, because it means that basically you can have any old sound and fix it.
He'll fix it.
Much. But yeah, it was.
I think you were told that was a still delivery, but I believe it was our own catering trucks making that noise.
No.
Just to tell you the truth, at the last, because this is the last thing we're going to do in the movie. As far as I understand, that was the catering truck reversing, but it was a very, very long reverse.
What, bringing a massive pie?
Yeah, I think it was about people were about to wrap, and we had to feed everybody.
Oh God! Right. Well, that was a disastrously bad decision. Yeah. The other thing I remember from that day is that we ate all the steaks around the back, didn't we?
That's true.
Because
they kept
you were ready for it. You had about 3 on the trot, if I remember. In the
I had about 25 ounces of sirloin that afternoon.
You think it was sirloin? In fact, that was horse meat. Because we wanted to have accuracy in all things on this film, and in fact, that was nice.
You could see it on my face.
Cheval steak.
when I put a biteful in my mouth, it was actually so tasty.
Yeah.
I think I'd done something very physical that morning.
You hadn't eaten, I don't think, for the day before. You got ready for it. I remember that.
Yeah.
But then we were all round the back. I remember sitting just looking across to Bobby Entwistle and Laurie, and we were just like eating all these steaks because the catering was so bad. We were just so happy.
It was a very well cooked steak.
Yeah. Now this birth sequence is I've got one of my favourite iPhone photographs of the whole project is James Purefoy with a pipe up Elizabeth Moss's skirt trying to and there's a whole thing, they got this incredible jelly baby that they're called, which are fake, really realistic fake babies, and James insisted on biting the umbilical cord with his teeth, which doesn't make it into the film but should have done, but I don't know why we cut it out. But the props master's going, if you bite it's going to cost a fortune. So he was told not to in the end. There's Enzo still hiding in the bags. Now his character's journey's quite a weird one.
Yeah.
So, and Luke makes it to the top of the building, much like Bruce Willis in Die Hard. This is one of my favourite bits as well. The kind of the reveal of the women that have taken over Royal's office and are basically assuming his role. You know, they understand how the building works, and they've even managed to start to power it through copious use of white wine and exercise bikes.
Yeah.
There we go.
Shout out to Packy Smith, our art director, who did so much work with Mark.
Yeah.
On this, on all of it, really.
Yeah. Yeah. The kind of the set dressing detail that
Yeah.
Packy brought to it was incredible.
The architect. Yes.
Now, Mark Kermode would have you believe that this movie is referencing Zardoz the whole time, and I absolutely denied it massively. And yet, Wilder turns up with the very pistol that is used all the way through Zardoz, so I couldn't possibly say how that happened. And I'd specifically asked for that gun, so I must have
Subliminally, somehow, the
or
message got through.
bliminally, completely bliminally. There it is. They're looking like Zed.
I have no interest in
There's a really interesting shot coming up here where I didn't know, which I never knew you were going to use, where you see Laing walking away,
Yeah.
disinterested, which is actually me just resetting for another take.
Yeah.
Which
we
is
had
one
to-
of those moments where you picked a piece of me not acting,
Yeah.
which I found when I first watched it was really fascinating.
Well, yeah, we tend to, we love using stuff before take and after take. So
Yeah.
we kind of roll. We always roll a lot to see what's,
Yeah.
because there's always, you need these little bits.
Here it comes, and you see Laing just
Yeah.
turning away.
There he goes. And now that's a CG shot as well, because we had to paint out bits of camera out of it as well. But it didn't make, in the original version you run over and hold Royal, and
yeah.
it just felt too emotional for Laing. Okay, so this is all in camera. This kaleidoscope lens, you can see it juddering about, and it was another one of Laurie Rose's amazing bits where things where he got his script department to knock this up, and it's kind of like a triangle of mirrors. That then has a kind of a handle on the side of it, and then which is locked on the front of the camera. And again, it's like right up against it. The last minute, they were kind of trying to build it as we were shoot, and then they I remember the AD going, "We've got to go. Just get rid of it. We don't need to shoot it." I mean, man.
Yeah.
So if we hadn't shot that, it's one of the best shots.
One last observation. That I have to say that Louis Suck looked a lot like Baby Ben.
This is something you've been pursuing since the British Library.
And now,
isn't it?
I just want to say for posterity that he's going to.
That's everyone's first days. Luke,
Dan,
James Purify, just like met them. They're going, all sitting there going, "So, what do you want me to do?" "Welcome to High Rise. Lie in a load of water, please."
and then this next bit is where
That shot inside Batman style, the old 1966 Batman.
There you go.
Oh,
aerosol in the mouth.
Yeah,
End of taste buds.
yeah.
End of taste buds for a whole day.
Can you now taste anything, Tom?
I can't. I haven't been able to since that
Everything's
day.
taste of mint.
Everything.
Okay, here we go.
I've lost that sense for the rest of my life.
This is the end of the Steel story and the end of the
You know how it is.
Cosgrove story. And now here comes the little look. Here it. Wait for it. That is the thing that got him killed. Yeah, that there.
I loved shooting this sequence.
And he just saw the pause.
Hmm?
I just saw the pause.
What, of the dog?
Yeah. Later, as he sat on the balcony eating the rest of the dog, Laing reflected on the unusual events that had taken place within this huge apartment building during the previous 3 months.
So yeah, and Laing here is obviously nicked everything from Roll's apartment.
And
This is also one of my favourite shots.
Yeah.
as you can hear, filmmaking is very arduous. And nobody had any fun at all in this
whatsoever.
very serious program.
Who are you talking to?
Yeah.
No one.
Oh, we've all gone quiet because we're watching the
We're watching
Yeah.
a different sort of love.
Yeah.
There
And now
it
here,
is.
and now here she comes. Thatcher. And yeah, for me, when I read the script and that, I got to the end and read that Amy brought the voice of Thatcher in, coming over the wireless, like some kind of weird radiation that was on the horizon that Toby was tuning into. That he'd had his actual mother and father and all these characters had all been destroyed, and now he was finding a new mother, and that was for me like the end of John Carpenter's The Thing. It was terrifying. And then the Mighty Fall play, which you're a big fan of, aren't you, Jeremy?
Big fan of Marky Smith. I really wanted this piece of music at the end of the film.
You fought for it all the way through the process.
All the way through the process. And if you believe that.
But I am a massive Fall fan, and I must say thank you to Jeremy for bending to my will on that one and let me get my way. But really happy as well that it's white text on a blue background. You don't often get that in movies. It's usually a horrible dinging white on black, and just so there you go. That was the commentary for
High Rise.
High Rise.
Recorded in New York City on 21st Street.
Yeah.
The date.
Yes, the 21st of April. On 21st Street.
Oh, right. That's
And we're not in
Street.
London, actually. We're recording this in Manhattan.
Yeah,
because it's
a city full of high-rise buildings.
yeah, and not any of them I don't think this has happened to. So this is not a documentary in a way.
In case you thought it was a documentary, the three of us are here to tell you.
And we're on the second floor.
Yes.
But we're here for Tribeca, aren't we?
Yeah.
And it's kind of the end of quite a long
Journey
of press, and it played at Toronto, and we're like 6 weeks out from the release.
Yeah.
It was released in England about 6 weeks ago, and it's slowly rolling out in different territories.
We
now.
started making it almost exactly 2 years ago.
Wow. Because I'm completely confused, because I did this and then I did Free Fire back to back, so it's all been one big lump of stuff. And then
you may be listening to this and you may already have seen Free Fire.
Yeah.
Nobody knows.
Oh look, Anita Christie, script supervisor, or as I like to call her, film police, who never lets me cross the line too much. And
You need those film police.
I mean, God, I do.
We all do. I need those film police to be forcibly stopped.
I need some lunch.
He's going for lunch. He's had enough. This is the end of this. I'm afraid, dear listeners, you'll have to just watch the titles roll out without us, because Jeremy Thomas has left the building.
Thomas has left the building. He's going for lunch. That's the sound that you can hear is of Jeremy Thomas,
exiting.
legendary producer of our time, putting his coat on.
Oh, it's a cuddle. Oh, crunch. So, dear listeners, if you've got this far into our commentary, congratulations. Thank you for listening to all that.
That was the live audio commentary of High Rise by director Ben Wheatley and
actor extraordinaire Tom Hiddleston and producer, mega super producer, legend producer
Jeremy Thomas. Without whom none of this would have happened in the first place.
His dogged pursuit of this project over a millennium. So thanks a lot for listening. And
J.G. Ballard's High Rise, extraordinary book if you have never read it. Go out and watch all of Ben Wheatley's films.
Yeah, please buy them on DVD.
Yeah, buy them,
They're
watch
available.
them repeatedly.
Don't lend them. Buy them for your family. This film, also, if it's in rep, go and see it.
Yeah.
Again and again.
Support independent cinema.